So tonight's speaker, we have come all the way from Pretoria University. Dr. Jager is a lecturer there in the School of Humanities, as having just recently obtained her PhD in educational psychology. And the topic of her thesis was facilitating adolescent boys experiencing proactive aggression. The outcome of her study was to assist these boys in reauthoring their life stories. Her career as an educational psychologist and her research into many primary schools and high schools has really cultivated her interests in the area of aggression, mindfulness, and vulnerability, especially in the context of education. And her passions also extend to reading and traveling, and her two very intelligent Schnauzer miniature dogs. Won't you please join us as we welcome Dr. Jager to the stage.
Thank you very much. Okay. You stole my joke about the bullying. Thank you for that. I wanted to say tonight, I hope nobody's been bullied to be here, because I remember when I was in school, going to any event in the evening was quite a challenge for me. So if I got extra marks for it or something like that, I would have been there. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. As you've heard, my research has been about aggression, and specifically proactive aggression in adolescents. And I'm very passionate about that topic. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the research that I've done, just to give you some context about my understanding of aggression and specifically relating that to bullying. And then we're going to talk about the profile of the bully, about connecting with your child in terms of the child being bullied, and then just some general tips at the end for parents. Okay, so let's get started with my research topic. So, when it comes to aggression, generally we think about, a raging person with a red face and fists in the air. Okay, that's the typical picture of aggression. But there are subtypes of aggression, and that's what my research was leaning towards. We distinguish between what's called proactive aggression and reactive aggression. Okay. Now, reactive aggression generally refers to a reaction, and that's the traditional aggression. Okay, so that's when I think about reactive aggression, I think about road rage. Driving down Old Johannesburg. It's always Old Johannesburg, isn't it? And then you're feeling so happy-go-lucky, you're driving, and then all of a sudden, someone tries to come in here from the side, and you just lose it for a moment, and it's totally out of character. And after the whole incident, you can't really remember what happened, or you don't know why you acted so severely or reacted so severely. But it's an absolute reaction. You were provoked. Okay. So when we talk about reactive aggression in terms of bullying, it's hitting someone or kicking someone or screaming at someone and reacting because you were provoked. Okay. Proactive aggression is quite interesting because it's a premeditated type of aggression. Now, I tend to believe that that's the more serious type of aggression. Because the reason why I say that is because the outcome is to gain something, it's instrumental, but also to sometimes ruin someone's life, to be quite honest. These adolescents that show this type of aggression basically think out strategies in how to get back at someone in the worst possible way. Okay. For example, exclusion. So having a group of friends and excluding someone from the group, or having someone believe that, something's wrong with them. Or sometimes in cyberbullying, posting some incriminating information about someone on Facebook and circulating that, posting pictures of someone. It's indirect. You're not directly confronting this person and hurting them, but indirectly you are causing a lot of damage. Okay? Proactive aggression also refers to when you spread a rumor about someone, or you call someone's parents and get that person into trouble. Does it make sense? Okay? And I can see a lot of people nodding because this is familiar type of behavior when it comes to bullying. Okay? It's not primary school bullying anymore. And what I mean by that is that I was involved at a primary school for about 3 years where, it's typical primary school bullying when someone kicks someone because they didn't invite them to play tennis or whatever, it's that kind of thing. But on high school level, it gets quite serious, where people's reputations get ruined and people, get driven to a point of anxiety and depression and even ideas of committing suicide. That's how serious it gets with bullying. So that's a little bit about my research in terms of proactive aggression, and that's why I was interested in the topic, because I thought to myself, well, this is something we need to investigate. Proactive aggressive teenagers are dangerous. And what I found was very interesting because I had 10 proactively aggressive adolescent boys and I did interviews with them, and I thought, let me pick their brains, let me see what makes them tick, what makes them want to be proactively aggressive and want to do these horrible things to people. And the interesting thing that came out from my study was that these boys had a deep fear of being vulnerable. They had experienced a lot of childhood trauma, and they had a lot of trust issues, difficult relationship with their parents, and basically the reason why they felt they had to bully other people and manipulate other people in such a way is because it protected them from being bullied themselves. How interesting is that? And also, as long as I'm on top of the social hierarchy, because people fear me, they won't challenge me, and I won't really have to, fend for myself or for my place. As long as people are a little bit afraid of me, they leave me alone. Okay. For example, one of the candidates that I did an interview with, he decided to one day just bring a gun to school. How scary is that? And I said to him, why would you want to do that? And he said, you know what, I just want people to know that I can do that, so that they are a little bit afraid of me. And then they won't challenge me and they won't ask too many questions, and I'm on top of the social ladder, and then I'm the boss. I make the rules. Okay. So that's a little bit of a glimpse into the psyche of someone that experiences this type of aggression and what the goal is at the end of the day. Now, bullying as a topic, especially for parents, I find is quite emotional. The moment you hear your child's being bullied at school, it can trigger so many emotions, and I think first and foremost you feel maybe angry because your child's being victimized by someone else. You might feel helpless. You might feel sad. And I think it's interesting to relate how you as a parent feel about your child being bullied with your own history and how you might have experienced the same thing when you went to school, because it triggers all of that emotions again. And something I want to just note in terms of, or mention in terms of this, is that because sometimes it brings up old wounds for us and opens up old wounds when we were bullied ourselves, it tends to overwhelm us and we tend to lose focus of our child and our child's feelings. We just feel so angry because, how dare that person bully my child? And I'm going to go to school now and sort this out. Or I'm going to Google that person's address and go to the house and grab that child by the neck because how dare he or she? Okay. And that's the thing with bullying. It stirs a lot of emotions. And that's something we need to be aware of, because you have to keep a cool head if you want to act in the best interest of your child. Okay? Probably he or she's feeling a little bit emotionally overwhelmed because they've been bullied, obviously. And now you maybe overreact and you lose sight of the more important thing here, and that's helping your child through this experience and guiding your child. Okay, we're going to touch on that a little bit later. Let's talk about the adolescent. I see a lot of you here tonight. Wonderful. It's such a great time of your life, isn't it? Or it's not. It's either one. It's either one. Either it's really great or it's really not. And it's interesting for me, the adolescent profile, because research has shown that during adolescence, your prefrontal cortex is under construction. Now that's interesting because your prefrontal cortex, it sits here in the front of your brain, and it's the part of the brain that has to do with good decision making. Now think about this. In adolescence, that part's under construction. The one that's supposed to do good decision making. Now that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? A whole lot of answers are being given right now. And the thing is that that's the part of the brain that's supposed to integrate a lot of information into one decision, and we make that decision and it's a good decision. We've decided that. And what's interesting for me, and actually quite unfair, I feel, is that we have to make some of the most important decisions of our lives during this time of our life, where we actually don't really have the brains to do it yet. Okay? Deciding what you want to do with your life, deciding what to study. And recent studies have shown that adolescence goes up to 24. How interesting is that? So by the time you've done your degree and you've decided what you want to be in life, you are actually only able to make a very good decision according to your brain development. That's a little bit scary, isn't it? But now, what does it mean? Okay, so the prefrontal cortex is under construction. Great, that sounds very boring. And then also what happens is you have a lot of dopamine in your brain. Okay, so dopamine is that hormone that makes you feel a thrill, like when you get on a roller coaster. And it's very thrilling. Okay, now what that also causes is that teenagers are quite impulsive. I know you didn't know that. That this is new news. Okay, they're quite impulsive, and they have this way of thinking that everything is just it's the end of the world, or it's the most important thing ever in their life. So when they meet someone and they fall in love, this is the love of their life. Okay? And when that person breaks up with them, it's the end of their life. Okay? It's very dramatic, which is fine. That's the stage of your life you're supposed to be in. I once heard a very nice metaphor, and someone said that adolescence is like being on your own stage, and you are the main actor, and everybody's watching you. That's how you feel. And then when you grow up, you eventually realize that nobody's watching you anymore. And that's the horrible thing about being an adult. Suddenly you feel, who's watching now? Nobody. Okay? So to the teenagers in the room, I want to say, enjoy it. It's a great time of your life. It's thrilling. What also happens with a lot of dopamine is that, unfortunately, it also wires your brain to be more aggressive. Interestingly enough. And that's why we see a lot of aggression in adolescence. So it's the next time you get a little bit cheeky with mom, just tell her, it's my brain, I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. It's the brain structure, it's the prefrontal cortex, it's under construction, mom. Okay, so this makes bullying and bullying behavior very relevant in adolescence, because we have to understand that adolescents are prone to this behavior because of the phase of life in which they are. Okay, we have to keep that in mind. Let's talk about the profile of the bully. So the thing about a bully, and I'm quoting my mom here, when I was in school, my mom always used to say, listen, a bully is a mouse with a megaphone. Have you heard of that one? A mouse with a megaphone. What does that mean? Bullies create fear. And that's where their power lies. It's not that they're necessarily that scary, but the way they make you feel is where their power lies with you. Okay? Now I want to make this clear. I don't want to demonize bullies, because some of you might be a bully here, or some of you might have a child that's a bully, and that's something we will also just touch on a little bit later in terms of what if your child's the bully. But I want to make it clear that when you do deal with a bully, Sometimes you take the power away when you shed light on the intention of the bully and who the bully really is. Okay? Sometimes that gives you a little bit more power. That empowers you to not feel so victimized by that person. Okay? So, bullies usually have very low self-esteem. Okay? I want you to keep that in mind. They enjoy having power over people. And that's why they manipulate. They want to have power. It's interesting and it's enjoyable for them. And on a deeper level, it makes them feel safe. Because let's go back to the research. They are a little bit afraid of being vulnerable themselves. So they create this system of fear so they stay on top. And when you're the victim, you just add to that narrative of him being or her being on top and being powerful. Okay? The other thing that I've realized, especially in the primary school that I was working at, is that bullies love an audience. Have you noticed? Because obviously, how will people know you're powerful if they don't see it? So usually when they do pick a fight with you or when they do something, they usually like to do it in front of a lot of people or have people who know about it. So it's interesting to keep that in the back of your mind that they do love an audience. Okay, and then the last thing I want to say about bullies and their profile is that they love reaction. Okay, and how I usually explain this to little kids in my practice is I say to them, when you get a puppy, okay, and you teach the puppy tricks, and you say to him, sit, or give your paw, or roll over, and he doesn't do anything, do you lose interest eventually? No, if you don't have a lot of perseverance, then obviously you're going to think, oh no, the puppy doesn't want to do anything, I'm going to go and do something else. But if this puppy just sits and rolls and gives the paw and does these tricks, are you going to keep engaging with the puppy? Yes, you are, because it's fun and you're getting something from this puppy. And you're going to take videos of it and you're going to just keep on going with it. And think about a bully. He or she loves the audience and they love reaction. So what would be the ideal thing for them if they target you and they want to do something and say something to you? What would they want you to give them? They want reaction. They want you to, they want you to react, okay? And the moment you are passive and almost a little bit uninterested and bored, you know what you're doing? You're throwing water on the fire, okay? Because now you're not fun anymore. I'm not going to pick on you anymore. I'm going to move on because you're no more fun. Okay? So I want you to keep that in mind when you think about a bully. Okay? Think about the little mouse with the big megaphone. They want you to be scared of them. So they will do anything to make you feel a little bit nervous. Okay? In the meantime, they just really want a reaction and they want an audience. And on the inside, there's a lot of insecurity and a low self-esteem. Keep that in mind. Now, I'm not telling you this so that you can become the bully by saying to the bully, you know what, you're only a bully because you've got a low self-esteem and you probably have a bad relationship with someone else or whatever. No, no, no. It's so that you can understand that being bullied is not your fault. Okay? It's not your fault. It's a reaction of someone that feels the need to do this to protect himself or herself from the world around them because they have a low self-esteem and they have a need for power and social dominance. Does that make sense? Okay, that's a little bit of an insight into the bully. I want to talk a little bit about when you find out that your child is being bullied. And now I've said, we tend to overreact a little bit, or a lot. I remember that the last person I wanted to tell when I was bullied in primary school was my dad, because on that same day he would get in his car and drive to school and go and sort out the principal and everybody, even the lady at the tuck shop, everybody got a piece of his mind about the bullying, okay? And he was a big guy and he was a little bit scary, so I think, and at the end of the day, I was more scared of telling him that I was being bullied than of the bully that was bullying me. Okay? So the first thing I want parents to keep in mind is that when your child tells you that they are being bullied, the best reaction you could possibly have is just giving them a chance to talk about it. You have to listen to them. Because if you react without even hearing the whole story, now you're just going on a rampage. This person is going to be called and the principal is going to be called. You are not being mindful of the fact that your child is sharing with you that they're going through a tough time. Okay? Now this is a very important exercise because you have to realize it's very personal. You're going to experience it as an emotional thing, but you're going to have to keep it in a bit and give your child space to talk and tell them, okay, what else happened? Tell me. You have to be a little bit cool. Remember, they're teenagers, okay? You can't make them feel as though you're too interested, then they won't tell you anything. And you have to tell them, tell me a little bit more. And, oh, okay, so what else happened? And what else was this guy saying to you? And, okay. Because you want them, at the end of the day, to know that talking to you about something that happened like this is a safe space, okay? You are the safe space. And I can't tell you how important this is. This is the most important thing. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest, bullies are not going to go away. Because we face bullies in school, and then you go to varsity and you have bullies there. Or you go to work one day and you have bullies there. And you marry a family and your mother-in-law, your father-in-law might be a bully. There will always be bullies in your life. Okay? Trying to eliminate the bullies from your child's life is not going to teach your child how to deal with bullies. It's not going to teach him anything. Okay? So your reaction here is the most important thing. Take, for example, when a little child runs and falls. It's so interesting to see when parents react with, oh, no, that was horrible. And the child looks at you and then he starts mimicking your face and he starts crying. Because you just showed him it's a horrible thing that just happened. But then when your child runs and he falls and you say to him, it was nothing, you're fine, you're so strong, get up. He's like, oh, okay, it's fine because I see you say it's fine, and then he gets up and he goes. No crying. So kids watch you and they want to see how you react. And how you react will probably have a huge impact on how they process what they're going through. Okay? So even if you feel like strangling the little boy who is bullying your boy, you have to keep calm, take a deep breath, and give your child space to talk about it. Okay? Even if it's not being sorted out immediately, even if it's going on for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, as long as your child can keep talking about it to you, you're creating a space that is so valuable, because you know what? It's not just about the bullying, it's about the relationship with your child. And it's about any adversity he might or she might experience in the future, and knowing that, you know what, I can talk to my mom and my dad about this. It's okay, it's a safe space. They're not going to overreact. They're not going to embarrass me. They're not going to, make me feel bad or ashamed. Because that's what sometimes happens when a child comes to you with this issue of I'm being bullied. They carry a lot of shame with them. Because obviously they feel worthless. They feel, how come I'm being bullied? Is it me? What's wrong with me? And giving them perspective and telling them, you know what, this is not something that's your fault. It's just a bad thing that's happening to you right now. It's a big thing that we need to teach our children, because you know what? That forms their identity. Okay? They either decide I'm a victim, I'm worthless, I've got a low self-esteem, people just bully me. But the thing is that we need to teach them it's a tough thing you're going through and you'll be fine. You'll get through this. I'm not going to necessarily be able to cancel the bullies in your life, but I'll teach you how to deal with them. I'll teach you how to stand up for yourself. I'll teach you how to be assertive. I'll teach you how to have a good self-esteem. So that whenever you face bullies in your life, whenever in your life, you'll know what to do. Does it make sense? Okay, I know the first instinct you have is wanting to get the bullies out of the way. That's the first thing you really want to do, obviously. But ask yourself, is this a teachable moment with my child? Is this a teachable moment with my child? Either I can use this to overreact, or I can use this to show my child, what do you do when tough things happen in your life? How do you deal with it? And if you are uncertain, you go pick up a book and you read. Or you go and ask someone that knows. And you establish a new dimension in your child's life. Because adversity will always be there, but we have to teach our children resilience. And this is a great opportunity for that. So I'm not saying bullying is a good thing, it's horrible. But obviously if you have to take something from it, it should at least be something worthwhile. Okay, let's wrap up. In terms of just small ideas for helping you out when you are being bullied right now, or when your child is being bullied, it's important to, as I've said, establish the relationship. That's the first and foremost thing here. And then, of course, it helps when you teach your child to walk away. Don't confront, don't try and fight, just walk away. Because as we've said, bullies like attention and they like reaction, and the moment you walk away, you are taking that away from them, and they will eventually leave you alone, hopefully. It's important that children know that they can use their voice to tell someone they are being bullied. Because some kids suffer in silence, and that's not fair. So you need to talk with your kid about who in school can you trust to go to, a teacher or a counselor, someone you know you can tell, listen, I'm being bullied. I want you to know this, okay? And then it's also a good idea to stay away from lonely places on the playground where you might be cornered, okay? If you do have someone that's a little bit annoying and keeps wanting to engage with a fight or engage with a verbal confrontation, stay away from places where you might get cornered. Keep it in the open and surround yourself with friends and try and stay away from those types of situations. Okay, that's just a little bit of advice in terms of on the playground. Stay in safe spaces. And then, really, this is good advice. I know it sounds a little bit weird maybe, but do a role playing with your child. Okay? You be the bully, and you confront your child, and then you teach your child, how do I talk to a bully? And I walk away. Remember now, we want to teach children to be assertive and stand up for themselves, but sometimes it's a good idea to do that little bit of role playing with them. It's a way of bonding, but it's also a way of teaching them, how do I really deal with these types of situations? Because when they do get to that point where they have a confrontation, sometimes they are so nervous that they don't know what to do, okay? And they react by maybe hitting or running away, or we need to teach them the reaction, okay? So role-playing is a nice way of doing that. And then when your child comes home and tells you, today I stood up, or today I walked away, or today I said something to a teacher about being bullied, praise your child for the progress. Praise the progress, that's very important. At the end of the day, I think the big aim is for us to have kids who have good self-esteem. I think that's the biggest gift you can give your kid, is a good self-esteem. I know teenagers will tell you the best gift you can give them is a car, but I mean, you know, really the best thing you can give them is a self-esteem. And at the end of the day, the smartest people, the richest people, the people that got so far in life will all tell you, I was bullied in school. Okay? It's the truth. A lot of them were bullied. So I want you to know that being bullied is not the end of the world. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with you. So keep that in mind. There's a life after being bullied. You're going to get through this. You're going to be fine. One day you're going to know exactly how to talk to your child about it because you went through it yourself. So don't lose perspective when you are being bullied, or when you do have a child that's being bullied. It's got to be okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I really enjoyed it and I appreciate it.